The morning sun barely touched the horizon when the Marines began their ascent toward Chapultepec Castle. The fortress stood like a stone giant above Mexico City, its walls scarred by cannon fire and shrouded in smoke. The year was 1847, and the air was thick with the smell of gunpowder, sweat, and courage. Every step forward brought a new volley of musket shots, but not a single Marine turned back. They were outnumbered, yet their discipline and willpower blazed brighter than the fires consuming the city below. Captain Samuel Nicholas, his face marked by the dust of battle, barked orders through the chaos. "Forward, Marines," he shouted. The desert sun blazed mercilessly over the golden sands of North Africa, its heat shimmering across the horizon where the sea met the land. The year was 1805, and the United States Marines stood ready on the shores near the ancient city of Derna. The smell of salt and gunpowder hung in the air as waves crashed against the wooden boats that had carried them across the Mediterranean. It was the first time the U.S. flag would fly in victory on foreign soil, the moment that would forever echo in Marine history, to the shores of Tripoli. Lieutenant Presley O'Bannon stood tall among his men, his uniform dusty and his sword glinting in the sunlight. He surveyed the fortress of Derna in the distance, a massive structure of stone and defiance guarding the city's heart. Around him were American Marines, Arab allies, and mercenaries, a small, diverse force united under a single purpose: to strike a blow for freedom and rescue American hostages held by the ruler of Tripoli. The desert wind carried the distant sound of drums and war cries. O'Bannon's sky was heavy with smoke, a haze of ash and gunfire that dimmed the sun over the black sands of Iwo Jima. The ground shook with the thunder of artillery as waves of U.S. Marines advanced toward the fortified Japanese positions. The air carried the thick scent of sulfur and cordite, mingled with the cries of wounded men and the relentless roar of the Pacific surf behind them. Every inch of ground was paid for in blood, sweat, and unwavering determination. Private First Class Daniel Cole pressed himself against the volcanic rock, bullets whipping overhead. He clutched his rifle, his heart pounding like the drums of war. Beside him, Sergeant Alvarez barked orders, his voice barely cutting through the chaos. "Move up, we're taking that ridge." Their mission was clear: secure Mount Suribachi, the island's towering volcanic peak that loomed like a dark sentinel above the battlefield. As they advanced, the enemy fired from hidden bunkers dug deep into the mountain. Machine gun fire ripped through the air, forcing the Marines to crawl forward inch by inch. Cole's uniform was soaked with sweat and sand, but his grip never faltered. He glanced at a tattered photograph tucked inside his helmet, his wife, smiling with their newborn son. That image gave him the strength to keep going, to fight for something far greater than himself. Explosions tore through the hillside as Navy aircraft screamed overhead, dropping bombs that sent shockwaves across the island. The Marines used the cover to push forward. "Go, go, go," Alvarez shouted, leading his men through the chaos. They stormed the next trench, clearing it room by room in brutal, close-quarters combat. Grenades exploded, rifles cracked, and the ground trembled beneath their boots. Hours turned into days, and days felt like lifetimes. Sleep was a luxury, courage was the only constant. Every Marine knew the cost, but none were willing to turn back. The hymn's timeless words echoed in their minds, even amid the carnage: "We fight our country's battles, in the air, on land, and sea." On the fifth day, as the sun struggled to pierce the battlefield haze, 6 Marines climbed Mount Suribachi. Exhausted, battered, and bloodied, they carried with them a single flag, a symbol of freedom, unity, and sacrifice. The cold mountain air bit through the night as a squad of U.S. Marines moved silently through the narrow Afghan valley. Their breath fogged in the frigid darkness, boots crunching softly over the rocky terrain. The moon cast long shadows across the rugged cliffs, illuminating faces hardened by years of war. Each man carried not just a rifle, but a mission: to bring stability, to protect the innocent, and to uphold the sacred oath of the Marine Corps: first to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. Staff Sergeant Marcus Reed led the patrol, his eyes constantly scanning the ridgelines through his night vision goggles. The hum of the distant wind mingled with the low buzz of the radio in his ear. Behind him, Corporal Evans and Lance Corporal Diaz moved in tight formation, covering every angle, their rifles ready. Every shadow, every rustle could mean danger. In these mountains, the enemy could be anywhere, unseen, patient, and waiting. The early morning fog hung low over the parade grounds of Parris Island, rolling like a ghostly sea across the asphalt. The sound of boots striking in perfect rhythm echoed through the stillness, a thunder of discipline, pride, and transformation. Hundreds of recruits, now Marines, stood in formation beneath the rising sun. Their uniforms were crisp, their faces solemn, their hearts pounding with a mix of pride, relief, and honor. Today, they had earned the right to claim the sacred title, United States Marine. At the front of the formation, drill instructor Gunnery Sergeant Mitchell stood tall and unyielding, his campaign cover casting a sharp shadow across his face. His voice, usually loud and commanding, was quiet now, steady with respect. Today, he said, pacing slowly before the new Marines, you stand among the few, the proud. You faced the fire, and you did not break. You've earned what no one can give and what no one can take away. The band began to play, the Marines' hymn. Its bold, familiar notes filled the air, stirring emotion through the ranks. The lyrics that had guided generations of warriors now resonated through every heart present. If the Army and the Navy ever look on heaven's scenes, they will find the streets are guarded by United States Marines. In the crowd, families watched from the bleachers, tears glistening in their eyes. Mothers clutched small American flags, fathers stood proud, and children waved with uncontained excitement. Each family had endured sleepless nights and silent prayers, waiting for this day. For them, it wasn't just a graduation, it was proof that courage and sacrifice still lived within the soul of America. Among the new Marines stood Private Jordan Harris, 19 years old, from a small town in Texas. His journey to this moment had been grueling, weeks of exhaustion, pain, and self-doubt. He remembered the endless drills under the blazing sun, the obstacle courses that tested his limits, the moments when he thought he couldn't go on. But now, standing in formation with his brothers and sisters, the eagle, globe, and anchor shining proudly on his chest, he knew it had all been worth it. As the hymn played, Jordan's mind flashed through the stories he had heard during training, of Marines who stormed the beaches of Iwo Jima, fought through the jungles of Vietnam, and faced the harsh deserts of the Middle East. Every generation had carried the torch, each adding new pages to the legend of the Corps. Now it was his turn to carry that legacy forward. When the ceremony ended, Gunnery Sergeant Mitchell called the company to attention. One last time, Marines, he said, his voice deep with pride, dismissed. A roar erupted as hats flew into the sky, flags waved, and families rushed forward to embrace their Marines. The once silent parade ground was now alive with laughter, tears, and triumph. Jordan hugged his mother tightly, her tears soaking into his uniform. You did it, she whispered. He smiled, standing tall. No, ma'am, he said quietly. We did it, the Corps made me who I am. As the sun broke fully over the horizon, the camera panned upward, capturing the scene in all its glory, the proud Marines saluting the flag, the golden light bathing them in warmth, the hymn's final notes echoing across the base. The screen faded to black, and in bold letters appeared the timeless words that bind every generation of warriors together.